In a place where empires have clashed and global commerce flows like blood through a vein, the Strait of Hormuz quietly channels the world's energy. This is one of the most strategically vital waterways on Earth. Here, where the Persian Gulf narrows to just 21 miles, massive tankers glide through waters that shimmer with geopolitical tension. Here, ancient trade routes still echo with the footsteps of merchants from centuries past. Here, the boundary between Iran and Oman creates an invisible line. That controls the fate of nations.
Yet, beneath this modern drama of commerce and politics, traditional Emirati fishermen still cast their nets at dawn, preserving knowledge passed down through 17 generations. The daily rhythm remains unchanged. Sunrise brings fishing boats to life. Sunset transforms the water into molten gold. And night settles with the calls of port authorities echoing across the waves. Join us as we explore the Strait of Hormuz, not merely as a geopolitical choke point, but as a living landscape where East and West, tradition and modernity, danger and commerce exist in precarious balance. At the northern tip of the Sultanate of Oman, where the jagged Musandam Peninsula thrusts into the Arabian Sea like a defiant fist between Iran and the United Arab Emirates, dramatic fjord-like formations rise with limestone cliffs that seem almost theatrical in their beauty. The colors here shift throughout the day, from deep crimson reds in the early morning to burnt siennas at noon, to purple grays as twilight approaches. These colors aren't merely aesthetic. They reveal the mineral composition of rocks that have stood for over 250 million years. Geologically, this peninsula is an anomaly. It was once separated from Oman, thrust northward by tectonic forces that still shape the region's landscape. When you walk along the coastal paths of Musandam, you feel the crunch of crushed shell and ancient stone beneath your boots. The air tastes of salt and iron. The cliffs seem to lean inward, as if sharing secrets about the ships passing below. Many people are drawn to this place precisely because of its isolation, because it remains one of the least developed coastal regions in the Arabian Peninsula, where tourism infrastructure is minimal and the land still feels wild, belonging more to smugglers and fishermen than to resorts and hotels. The fishing traditions of Musandam, known locally as Hanut, or traditional fishing grounds, have been part of life here for generations. Local Shihu people, an ethnic group unique to this peninsula, have developed fishing techniques perfected over centuries, using methods that require no electricity, no fuel, except human muscle. The traditional dhow boat, made from teak wood with hand-stitched sails, represents more than transportation. It embodies a philosophy of working with the sea rather than against it. When you watch a fisherman prepare his nets at dawn, you see the same precise movements his grandfather performed. The way rope is coiled, how nets are cast, the rhythm of the work that flows like music. The catch is simple but flavorful. Grouper, snapper, mackerel, and hamor, a whitefish prized throughout the Gulf. The local preparation involves grilling fresh catch over charcoal with nothing but lemon, salt, and occasionally cilantro. Besides fishing, pearl diving once sustained entire communities here. Though the industry declined with the discovery of oil, the memory of it remains in the stories told in small tea houses. In the scars on old divers' hands, in the pride that still colors their voices when they speak of ancestors who dove to depths that would terrify modern swimmers. The weekly market in Kasab, the main town of Musandam, still buzzes with activity. Vendors sell dried fish, fresh produce brought from the interior, imported electronics, and the essential supplies for boat maintenance. The market smells of fish, diesel fuel, and the sharp scent of cardamom from the spice merchants. Beyond the main strait proper, the waters widen slightly, which is far more dangerous in different ways. Here, the channel opens into the Persian Gulf itself,
a body of water that is simultaneously the world's richest resource reservoir and one of its most environmentally fragile zones. Stretches along the Iranian side of the northern Persian Gulf, spanning approximately 2,400 square kilometers. This is the largest island in the Persian Gulf and one of the most geologically dramatic.
The interior landscape contrasts sharply with the coastline, where shores feature coral reefs, mangrove forests, and sandy beaches. The island's interior presents an alien landscape of dramatic canyons, salt deposits, and mineral-painted geological formations. Settlements concentrate in the northern sections, where the port town of Qeshm City serves as an economic hub for fishing and traditional handicrafts. Daily life on Qeshm revolves around the sea. Fishing boats depart before dawn, their crews including fishermen whose families have worked these waters for 20 generations. The catch is brought to processing facilities, where women with practiced efficiency clean, salt, and dry fish for export throughout the Gulf region. Cultural elements persist through music, the sound of traditional instruments in tea houses, where men gather in the evenings to drink strong tea and discuss politics and livelihood. Friday prayers draw crowds to mosques that overlook the water. The ritual of ablution, the call to prayer, the communal gathering. These frame the days as firmly as the tides frame the fishing schedules. Culinary culture here celebrates simplicity. Khorak-e-mahi, fish stew with tomato and herbs. Kebab-e-makian, grilled shrimp kebab. And tahdig, crispy rice, form the dietary backbone. Saffron appears in small quantities, reserved for special occasions. The food is honest, tied directly to what the sea provides. But there is still more to experience here. Beyond the main town, the island reveals archaeological sites, natural springs, and the famous Qeshm Geopark, recognized by UNESCO for its extraordinary geological formations. Pesham unfolds its treasures slowly, through patient observation, not through rushed tourism, but through the rhythm of fishing seasons, through learning how islanders read the sky for weather changes, through understanding how a community of 150,000 people manages to sustain itself through careful stewardship of marine resources that are increasingly threatened by overfishing and pollution. Chabahar Port lies in the southeastern corner of Iran's coastline, within the larger context of the Strait of Hormuz region. It is one of the most strategically significant deep-water ports on the Arabian Sea. Technically, Chabahar represents Iran's only deep-water port and its most important access point to the Indian Ocean, a geographic reality that explains why every major geopolitical power, China, India, Russia, and the United States, maintains intense interest in its operations and development. Its formation as a port is written in stages. First came the natural harbor, a geological gift where underwater topography creates protection from monsoon winds and natural depth suitable for large vessels. Then came the initial construction in the 1990s, followed by expansion phases that created the modern infrastructure visible today. Over time, the port evolved from a minor regional facility into a critical node in China's Belt and Road Initiative, equipped with modern container terminals and liquid cargo facilities. That is what makes Chabahar so unusual. It is simultaneously a working port, a geopolitical flashpoint, and a symbol of Iran's determination to assert independent maritime presence beyond the Strait of Hormuz. When arriving and trekking through the port facilities, you encounter massive container cranes, Chinese-flagged ships being loaded with Iranian goods destined for Shanghai and Mumbai, Indian trucks waiting to transport cargo inland through Afghanistan and Central Asia. The sensory environment shifts from the relatively quiet waters of the Gulf to the industrial chaos of a major port. Diesel fumes, the thunder of automated cargo handling systems, the polyglot voices of longshoremen speaking Persian, Chinese, Urdu, and English. Human survival stories underlie the port's operation. Workers from rural areas have migrated to secure employment. Small merchants have built enterprises around port logistics. Fishermen have adapted their routes to navigate around container vessels. The port has become survival itself for thousands. Chabahar is not only a strategic location on a map, it is a place where Iran asserts its right to control its own destiny, where Chinese capital flows into Middle Eastern infrastructure, where India gains an alternative route around Pakistan to reach Central Asia, and where the traditional maritime culture of small-scale fishing communities confronts the reality of 21st century global commerce. Chabahar reaches outward toward the Arabian Sea with industrial purpose. The strait itself, by contrast, holds its width like a breath held in anticipation, creating an entirely different kind of commerce and tension. Kish Island stands in the central Persian Gulf, approximately 18 kilometers off the Iranian coast. This is a free trade zone island that concentrates on commerce and tourism in a climate that oscillates between extreme summer heat and pleasant winter conditions. Historically, Kish was famous for pearl diving. Entire communities existed here for the harvest season, departing when winter winds made diving dangerous. Archaeological sites scattered across the island reveal pottery, ancient structures, and artifacts suggesting human habitation for at least 2,500 years. Architectural elements visible today range from reconstructed ancient sites to modern resort infrastructure, hotels, shopping centers, restaurants featuring Iranian, Lebanese, and international cuisine. An underwater museum, artificial beach extensions, and recreational diving facilities reveal modern development priorities. The annual celebration is the Kish Festival, typically held in November, attracting Iranians seeking leisure activities within the Islamic Republic's regulatory framework. The festival features traditional music performances, boat races, fishing competitions, and cultural exhibitions. The signature food of Kish combines Gulf fishing traditions with modern resort cuisine. Grilled hammerfish served with saffron rice, shrimp kebabs, fresh oysters, and traditional tadik, crispy rice bottom. Fresh fruits and vegetables are imported from the mainland, creating a diet more diverse than typical Gulf fishing communities. For Kish to sustain itself economically, it requires continuous development while attempting to preserve its ecological systems. Mangrove forests that nursery young fish, coral reefs that attract diving tourism, and the natural sandy beaches that form its primary attraction. These conservation requirements create constant tension with development pressures. At Kish Island, you can swim in waters protected by Iranian naval vessels. shop in international brand stores, or dive among coral formations that flourished before modern pollution. The sunset view from the western beaches is extraordinary. The water reflecting colors from red to orange to gold as the sun descends toward the distant Omani coast. Kish Island gathered commerce, modernity, and economic aspiration into a vision of the Persian Gulf as an upscale vacation destination. The remote fishing villages create a contrasting image with isolation, tradition, and subsistence-level economics. The world's busiest maritime corridor stands beside the geographic boundary between Iran and Oman near Hormuz Island. It's a living, breathing spectacle where approximately 21,000 vessels transit annually, moving roughly 35% of all globally traded oil by sea. Morning is the true hour of this place, when the night watch hands off to day crews, when new tankers appear on the horizon, when port authorities coordinate the precise choreography of dozens of vessels moving through narrow channels simultaneously. The ships range from massive, ultra-large crude carriers measuring over 400 meters, to container ships stacked with thousands of boxes, to military vessels conducting freedom of navigation operations.
The itemized list of products flowing through the strait includes crude oil from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, heading to refineries in Singapore, India, and the US, liquefied natural gas from Qatar, petrochemicals from Iran and Kuwait, consumer goods from Asian factories destined for European markets, and military equipment moving to support operations throughout the region. Action descriptions reveal the complexity. Pilots board vessels to navigate the narrower sections. Tugboats assist in maneuvering. Radio communications, constant in multiple languages, coordinate movement, and satellite systems track positions with GPS precision. The human element persists despite the technology. Experienced captains read currents and wind, understanding the strait's moods through decades of experience. For the best experience in understanding the strait's commercial reality, visit a port facility like Bandar Abbas, or observe from one of the observation points on Musandam Peninsula, where you can literally see the shipping lanes from land, watching the endless procession of vessels with full awareness of the economic and political weight they carry. After witnessing the industrial spectacle of shipping lanes,
The next landmark responds with a contrasting language: isolation, fragile ecosystems, and environmental vulnerability that commercial traffic increasingly threatens. On Hormuz Island, the ruins of Portuguese fortifications stand on elevated terrain overlooking the narrowest point of the strait. Built after the Portuguese occupation in 1514, these structures became one of the key trade control points in the region until their abandonment in the 17th century, when Portuguese power waned and the British began their rise in the Indian Ocean. The construction details reveal sophisticated military engineering. Massive stone walls designed to withstand cannon fire, gun emplacements positioned to command the narrow channel below, cisterns for water collection, and barracks for soldiers who alternated between enforcing trade monopolies and defending against British incursions. The walls were built without mortar in some sections, merely stacked stone, relying on weight and precise fitting for stability. The original functions included enforcing the Portuguese monopoly on Eastern trade, particularly spices, collecting taxes from merchant vessels, imprisoning those who violated trade regulations, and serving as a symbolic assertion of European power in Asian waters. Now, what once functioned as a militarized trade control point survives today as archaeological ruins, partially excavated, partially eroded, visited by occasional tourists and researchers interested in Portuguese maritime history. The Iranian government has restricted development of the island, recognizing its historical significance while maintaining military control given its proximity to the critical strait. People come here for the juxtaposition of history and geography. Standing on these ancient walls while watching modern tankers pass below creates a visceral understanding of how the means of commerce evolve, while the location's strategic importance remains constant. The rocks are weathered, carved by 500 years of wind and salt spray, but they persist as testimony to human ambition and the long arc of maritime history. On the shallow waters off various points throughout the strait, the wrecks of commercial vessels lie silently under layers of silt and salt water. Several vessels have been grounded since the 1980s, some from the Iran-Iraq War, others from accidents, a few from deliberate scuttling. The most notable is the MT Persicus, a merchant vessel that ran aground in 1979 and has deteriorated for over 4 decades, its superstructure collapsing, its hold filling with sediment and increasingly exotic marine life adapted to living inside a metal tomb. The visual descriptions of such wrecks reveal the progression of decay. Rust blooms across any remaining metal surface in shades of orange and deep red. The paint has entirely flaked away. Sections of the hull have corroded completely. And the interior, where you felt as if you were looking at the final moments of a ship's life, is a maze of collapsed compartments, twisted metal, and the architectural traces of spaces designed for human habitation that now shelter only crabs and fish. The atmospheric conditions around the wreck are melancholic. Murky water limiting visibility. The play of filtered sunlight creating shadows that obscure detail. The sense of entering a tomb in slow-motion decay. Emotionally, standing near such wrecks invokes reflection on the volatility of maritime trade, the fragility of human ventures in an indifferent ocean, and the rapid way that sophisticated human engineering returns to nature's control when neglected and damaged. The cause of many wrecks remains shrouded in uncertainty. Accident, deliberate disabling, wartime loss, or piracy? The Strait's history of conflict blurs documentation, and many vessels sank with their records. For the communities bordering the strait, these wrecks symbolize multiple meanings. Reminders of the region's violent past, obstacles to modern navigation that must be carefully charted, ecological disruptions as oil and other cargo contaminate surrounding waters, and symbols of the strait's danger, a danger that has existed for centuries and persists despite modern technology and international law. Musandam lies on the peninsula's eastern edge, where limestone cliffs rise dramatically from sea level to peaks exceeding 2,000 meters. It is one of the most spectacular fjord landscapes in the Arabian Peninsula. Access to the most dramatic fjord areas requires either boat travel along the coast or hiking through interior passes. Roads are minimal, and many formations remain accessible only to those willing to trek through difficult terrain. The first impression is the enormous scale. Cliff faces rising so vertically that shadows at their bases remain perpetually dark, creating the visual impression of bottomless chasms. Light and color changes throughout the day transform the landscape almost entirely. Morning shadows make the cliffs appear nearly black. Midday sun reveals the mineral composition in startling detail. The rust reds of iron oxide, the whites of limestone, the purple grays of ancient metamorphic rock. Sunset bathes the entire peninsula in golden light that makes the cliffs glow as though illuminated from within. The descent into the major fjords involves careful scrambling, handholds often cut into rock face by centuries of travelers, the ground becoming increasingly unstable as you approach the water. Your boots press on surfaces where rock falls frequently, where loose shale threatens to slide without warning, where a misstep could result in a tumble of 50 meters or more. The sea's appearance shifts in the fjords. Water becomes extraordinarily clear, revealing the seafloor to depths of 10 meters or more, colors shifting from turquoise in shallow sections to deep blue in the channels. The water temperature remains cool even in summer, fed by deep currents carrying water up from the Arabian Sea's darker depths. Vegetation clings to the cliff faces in surprising abundance. Despite minimal rainfall and challenging growing conditions, endemic plant species have adapted to these vertical gardens, their root systems exploiting microscopic cracks in ancient rock, their leaves minimizing water loss through sophisticated physiological mechanisms. Driving through the winding interior passes, if roads exist, or hiking the coastal paths in second person creates an immersive sensory journey. The smell of salt and heated stone, the sound of wind whistling through canyon passages, the visual experience of cliffs seemingly closing in as you descend toward water level, the tactile reality of sharp rocks beneath your feet, the emotional response to sublime landscape, beauty and danger existing in equal measure. Your arrival at the water edge reveals the fjord in its totality, a landscape that has changed minimally in 10,000 years, where natural processes continue regardless of human presence, where the human scale feels diminished to insignificance. The reflective moment arrives naturally, recognizing that you're experiencing landscape in conditions similar to those experienced by ancient traders who navigated these waters, ancient fishermen who established communities on these shores, and modern adventurers seeking to understand the strait through its most physically dramatic expressions. After the island's ecological minimalism, the Hormuz red rock landscape answers with contrasting features, a palette of colors suggesting an artist's canvas rather than natural geology, rising like a geological rainbow from the strait's waters. Hormuz Island's interior is dominated by deposits of iron oxide, sulfur, clay, and various minerals, creating a visual spectacle that has few parallels in the world. The alternative name used locally is Gyale Doktar, Painted Mountain, for its most colorful sections, an apt description for a landscape where single hillsides display a dozen distinct colors. The landscape description requires patience and attention. Rust reds transitioning to brilliant oranges, burnt siennas bleeding into mustards and ochres, sections of bright yellow indicating high sulfur concentration, patches of pure white limestone, gray-purple clay deposits, and occasionally emerald green patches where specific mineral combinations create unusual colorations. The scale emphasis is important. These colored formations aren't small decorative features, but massive geological formations covering thousands of square meters, visible from significant distances, creating the impression that you're standing in a landscape painted by a geological force, rather than shaped through neutral physical processes. The formation process involved ancient seawater evaporation, mineral precipitation, and tectonic exposure of deep-buried deposits. Over millions of years, layers accumulated in different conditions, each layer recording environmental conditions, water chemistry, and mineral composition of its era. Tectonic activity has fractured and tilted these layers, exposing them to human view in their full chromatic diversity. Standing here as a traveler, you will feel simultaneously that you're witnessing something unique and something deeply alien. Colors so vivid they seem artificial. Geology that makes you question whether you're experiencing natural formation or human-created artwork. The experience is almost disorienting. Your mind struggles to integrate these colors with expectations of what natural should look like. The best experience timing coincides with morning or late afternoon light, when the sun angle emphasizes color variation and creates shadows that enhance three-dimensionality. Midday sun can wash out some colors through excessive brightness. Practical warnings include: the soil is unstable in many sections, prone to landslides. Some mineral deposits contain concentrated sulfur, creating noxious fumes in enclosed areas. The rocks are extremely fragile and crumble easily, so climbing should be minimized. And the complete absence of shade creates serious heat exposure risk during summer months when temperatures exceed 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The coral reefs lie off the coast of selected peninsulas and islands throughout the Persian Gulf, forming one of the region's most fragile marine ecosystems. Growth conditions that coral requires: clear water, stable salinity, specific temperature ranges, nutrient input from upwelling or decomposition, exist in diminished form throughout the Gulf. Unlike Indo-Pacific coral reefs that grow in tropical abundances, Gulf coral reefs are stressed by marginality, the cold winter temperatures, the hypersalinity, the limited nutrient input from river discharge. It is a fragile system, yet it persists, a testament to evolutionary adaptation and the remarkable resilience of life forms
that refuse to surrender, even under marginal conditions. The structure description requires understanding coral polyps as tiny animals, not plants as they appear superficially. Millions of these polyps construct calcium carbonate skeletons that accumulate into visible reef formations, architectural achievements built by creatures visible only with magnification. The coral appears as branching formations in browns, reds, yellows, and occasionally brilliant blues, though many reefs now show significant bleaching, indicating stress from warming temperatures and pollution. Life in layers begins with fish visible even to casual snorkelers, parrotfish, grouper, snappers, and many species of reef-associated fish that depend on coral structure for shelter and feeding opportunity. The midwater zone hosts open water fish that use the reef periphery for hunting and feeding opportunity. On the sea floor, between coral branches, invertebrate communities concentrate. Octopus, sea cucumbers, starfish, and mollusks playing essential ecological roles in nutrient cycling and food web dynamics. The visitor experience entering the water begins with the shock of the Gulf's coldness. Even in summer, water temperatures rarely exceed 30 degrees Celsius, and winter temperatures drop to 10-12 degrees Celsius, requiring wetsuits for extended underwater time. Descending beneath the surface, the visual clarity provides access to understanding coral ecosystem organization. You see how polyps arrange themselves on skeleton, how fish of different species partition feeding strategies, how the reef structure creates microhabitats supporting different organisms. The return to the surface reflection brings emotional complexity. You've witnessed beauty and fragility, understood that coral reefs exist on a knife edge between thriving and collapse, and recognized that the stressors threatening these ecosystems, warming, pollution, overfishing, are directly connected to human activities. The experience transforms abstraction into sensory reality. We followed the Strait of Hormuz, not as a shipping lane, but as a landscape shaped by geology, shaped by history, shaped by the intersecting interests of empires and nations. The strait is small in geographic terms, only 21 miles at its narrowest. Yet it contains vaster dimensions: geopolitical significance, ecological fragility, economic criticality, cultural layering, and technological complexity. This waterway gathers oil and commerce, military power and human ambition, tradition and modernity, beauty and danger, into a place that has simultaneously changed everything and remained unchanged for millennia. From the Musandam fjords to the painted rocks of Hormuz, from the fishing villages preserving ancient practices to the tanker convoys representing the world's energy flow, from the mangrove nurseries sustaining fish communities to the coral reefs stressed by warming temperatures, the Strait of Hormuz is a microcosm of our contemporary world. It is a place where the future will be determined not by military might alone, but by choices about environmental stewardship, about sustainable resource management, about the possibility of peaceful coexistence despite competition for critical resources. The Strait of Hormuz awaits understanding. Understanding that comes not from policy papers or economic analysis, but from standing on its shores, sailing its waters, and recognizing the irreducible complexity of a place that matters far more than most of us realize. If you've traveled through these waters with us, through geology and commerce, through culture and ecology, through the tensions and the beauty, please subscribe to journey with us to other critical places, where the world's future is being written in real time. We're Velioraglobe, and we will see you on the next journey.